The Gerhardt family moved to this plot of land in central Pennsylvania 30 years ago. Ellen Gerhardt said she and her husband wanted to keep the land they bought intact, so they signed up with a state program to preserve the forest.
You know, it was almost like our own park, our own little environment, and you got to know the trees, you got to know the landscape.
But in 2015, they got a call from a pipeline company, Sunoco Logistics.
He said he'd like to come out and talk to us, that Sunoco Logistics was interested in putting in a pipeline. It would run under the road in front of us and under part of our pond.
He told her the company's offer was generous, but the Gerhardts said no.
The damage that they were proposing to do to the property, the damage to the trees that they would have to cut down, you can't pay for that. And the moment we said no, they immediately kicked into eminent domain.
A local judge sided with Sunoco, saying the company was a public utility and thus had the right of eminent domain. And a few months later, a chainsaw crew showed up on their property. Elise Gerhardt, who'd grown up on the property, protested the clearing by sitting in a tree stand on the right-of-way for days. Meanwhile, a group of local activists came to protest.
You guys are not allowed off the right-of-way.
5 people were arrested, including Ellen and Elise Gerhardt. But in the end, the trees came down and Sunoco had its pipeline route. The company would not agree to an interview, but in an emailed statement, Sunoco said it only used eminent domain as a last resort. Eminent domain has been used for building highways, utility lines, and parks in the U.S., but it's also used in some states, like Pennsylvania and Ohio, to build oil and gas pipelines. With the recent boom in natural gas in Pennsylvania, companies are spending billions of dollars on new pipelines, and increasingly, they're using eminent domain to take land from owners, like the Gerhardts, who don't want pipelines on their land.
And you can see why it's controversial.
Grant McIntyre is an environmental lawyer who used to work for the EPA. More than 100 landowners have sued Sunoco to protest the company's use of eminent domain in Pennsylvania. So far, the company has mainly come out ahead in court. McIntyre says many opposed to the pipelines argue eminent domain is supposed to benefit the public, not a private company like Sunoco.
There is a school of thought, and a lot of people think that the fair market value that governments or authorities using eminent domain are required to pay may not actually be fair market value. I think in the case of pipelines and kind of rural property that they may go through, you may not have a high price per acre on forested land in Pennsylvania. But if it's someone's homestead, a place where their families live for generations, that price per acre doesn't reflect the real value to that person.
McIntyre said a recent Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision that found eminent domain use for natural gas storage unconstitutional could make it harder for energy companies to use eminent domain for pipelines. The Gerhardts turned down $100,000 for the pipeline to go through their property. Ellen Gerhardt says she never even considered it.
People have said to me, well, you know, but you're not doing anything with that land. It's just sitting there. You know, you're not farming it, you're not building on it, you're not timbering it, you're not doing anything with it. And that's the point. It's still hard to go and see those trees just lying there and knowing that, you know, you can't glue them back together, you can't put them back up, they're gone.